कपित्थजम्बूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् आपदामपर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् आर्तानामार्तिहन्तारं भीतानां भयनाशनं द्विषतां कालदण्डं तं रामचन्द्रं नमाम्यहम् रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पतये नमः कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीकिमुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिं गोष्पदीगतवारीशं मशकीगतराक्षसं रामायणमहामाला रत्नं वन्दे नीलात्मजम् अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकीशोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्. So we were with Sita in the Ashoka Vanika, where Trijata had spoken about her dream to all the Rakshasis, and Sita had heard it as well. A dream which portrayed that her bad times are coming to an end and that Rama would be coming and Ravana would be destroyed. Now all that is very fine, and Sita is quite happy to hear that dream, and she even tells Trijata that if what you say comes true, then I will be your savior. All that is fine. But once reality again hits you, what you have heard is a dream. So she came back to her mind that this Ravana, this dreadful Rakshasa, and what he has done, and what he just has, the ultimatum that he just now gave, saying 2 months are out. And the way he has been talking to her, etc., she was extremely again back to her depression. And Valmiki says she again cringed like like in the forest, there's a small, there's a cow elephant, which is a lion is about to, spring upon it, and how the cow will feel like that. She was cringing. And then the constant pressure exerted by these Rakshasis who are around her, threatening to eat her up and cut her up and all that stuff. Valmiki says she was like a young girl lost in a forest, all on her own. And she's thinking that the good men would say that death never comes before one's time, and what they say is true. I am a luckless person. I am so luckless. I don't know how I am able to live even under more than a minute in these circumstances. It must be that my heart is so hard that nothing can break it. Otherwise, would it not have broken into 1,000 pieces? Like a mountain which is struck by a thunderbolt. My heart has become a stranger to happiness, filled with sorrow. It would be no sin for me to commit suicide now. It would not be wrong, for in any case, I shall die at the hands of this Ravana, this disgusting Rakshasa. I have no doubt that this horrible king of Rakshasas will hack me to pieces, as does the barber the child in the womb with sharp weapons. In those days, perhaps, abortion was carried out in this manner. So she's saying he will hack me to pieces before Rama, the Lord of the universe, comes. Alas! Alas, the 2 months of respite given to me, who have suffered so long. It will soon be over, like the night before the execution of a prisoner who has been sentenced to death. Imagine that, a prisoner sentenced to death, the night before, how does he feel? She says she's feeling like that. Alas, O Rama, O Lakshmana, O Sumitra, O Rama's mother, O my own mother, alas, alas, I, luckless, I shall perish like a ship at sea caught in a hurricane. She's back to her deep depression and she's lamenting and she's thinking that she's the cause of all this problem. She's thinking and speaking to herself, saying, Rama and Lakshmana, the two princes, who are so great, they, I have no doubt, they have been done to death because of me. That damn creature which disguised itself as a deer, it came in front of us and I pushed the two of them to their death. Surely it was death that had taken the form of a deer and had induced me, the luckless me, to send away, silly fool that I was. I sent away my honored husband to chase that death which had come in the form of a deer. And thereafter I sent Lakshmana himself. What a fool I am. And then she beautifully talks in her own mind to Rama. Now she thinks of him as God. At the same time, she thinks of him as a husband. At the same time, she thinks of him as a normal, a man with desires. All three she kind of models in her mind, and she talks to him and she says, oh Rama, you of long arm and face like the full moon, you who are loved by all the world, O Rama, you who are intent on the good of all creatures, you do not know that the Rakshasas are going to kill me. I have looked upon you and you alone as my God. And I have withstood so much. I have slept on the bare ground. I have disciplined myself in dharma. And I have been faithful to my husband. But all this has not availed me any more than a good turn done to an ungrateful man. Fruitless has been the dharma that I have practiced. Futile my vow of fidelity to my husband. I, thin, pale, bereft of you, I have not set eyes on you for such a long time. I have lost all hopes of being united with you, O Rama. Having faithfully complied with your father's command and returning from the forest after duly discharging your vows after completing 14 years, I am sure you will go back to Ayodhya, and I am sure that you will be happy with your wide-eyed women, untroubled by cause of fear, all your ambitions fulfilled. But I, O Rama, desiring you and having given you my love for long years, I shall be discarding this sorry life. All my fasting and vows have brought me no good. Luckless creature that I am. I should be happy to die quickly by poison or sharp weapons. But there is no one in the household of the Rakshasas who will give me poison or hand me a weapon. Having thus lamented long, her mind wholly given to Rama, the noble soul, Sita, her whole body trembling, her face parched, went up to a great tree that was in full flower. It was the very tree on which Hanuman was sitting, but she didn't know that. She went to the tree, her heart burning with grief, Valmiki, even at this time, Valmiki cannot but say this. He says, her heart burning with grief, Sita, whose every limb was delicately fashioned. She's looking beautiful at that point in time. Sita, whose every limb was delicately fashioned, intensely brooded in her misery. Supporting herself, she went to the tree and she supported herself with one hand on a branch. She caught hold of a branch and supported herself standing there. And then in the other hand, she took her long plaited hair. Her long hair, plaited hair, she took it in the other hand and she had a look at it and she decided and she told herself, this is a good thing. I shall hang myself with this plait around my neck. I don't need a weapon. I don't need poison. I can do this myself. I shall hang myself with this plait around my neck and thus quickly reach Yama's feet. This was the thing that was going on in her mind. The pain of having been with Ravana and his captivity and with all these Rakshasis, the hopelessness of this all the vows, all the fasts, all the prayers, all the tapasya, all of that she has done, she is finding has come to no avail, and she is deciding that it is time now for her to take her own life. Tasya tu Ramam pravijintayantya Ramanujam swam chakulam shubhangya Shokanimittani tatha bahuni Dhairyarjitani pravarani loke Pradurnimittani tata babhuvu Purapi siddhanyupalakshitani. Tasyastu Ramam pravijintayantya Ramanujam swam chakulam shubhangya. She whose her features are such that they augur goodness. She, Tasyatu Ramam Pravichintayantya, her mind dwelling on Rama, also on Lakshmana, Ramanujam, Swamchakulam, also on her own family, Janaka, her mother, her forefathers. She's thinking of all of them. In this terrible point of time in her life, before she takes her own life, her left hand holding on to the plait of hair, the other hand holding on to the tree, the branch of the tree, ready to take her life. She is thinking one last time of Rama. Lakshmana comes to mind, her own family comes to mind, and suddenly she saw Shokanimittani tatha bahuni dhairyarjitani pravarani loke. She suddenly saw good omens. Not one omen, not two omen, many omens. Bahuni, Shokanimittani. What kind of omens? Indicating an end of her sorrow. Omens which indicated that her shoka was going to end. Dhairyarjitani, which gave her a sense of courage. Pravarani loke. Pradurnimittani tatha babuhu purapi siddhani upalakshitani. Such omens had always indicated imminent good fortune. She knew that she'd been there and done that. She knew these omens. The science of omens was well known to her. And suddenly she felt she was getting some omens which indicated that her sorrow is going to end. And good fortune was imminent. Things are going to change for the better. Perhaps the dream of Trijata was going to come true.